Alright, welcome back everyone. On today's video we have a dishwasher to try and repair. It's not draining anymore. You can hear the motor humming like it wants to run or drain. So I don't know if something slipped past the filter and jammed the propeller on it or something like that. I'm hoping that's all it is and not an actual motor gone on the pump. So we're going to have to take it out of here. So we've already turned water off and disconnected hydro on it. So now it's just a matter of opening everything up and pulling it out of the hole so that we can see what's going on. Okay, so what we've done, we had an extension, a short extension cord, and these ends are just ones that were screwed on. So I took the end off the other end of the extension cord and wired it in here to where the wires are so I could plug it in and try running it out here and see what it does. So same thing, it's definitely in this pump area that you can feel it vibrate when you try and turn it on, like it's trying to turn. So I'm really hoping it's just something in there that's jamming it up. But we need to figure out how this thing all comes apart through the cobwebs. I know those are for the heating element. They are different color coded, but they're the exact same size ends, so it's easy to mix those up. So I think we're going to do some labeling. All I've got here, I've got a book with some little stickers, numbers, so there's a page full of 3, 6, 9, and I'm just putting a 1 on that, I'll stick a 1 on that, so then it's easier to match them up when I come back to it. I'm going to need somebody else to give me a hand for a minute because I have to open the door and see if that pops up into the dishwasher or not. We've got all the guts out of the bottom of it. There were lots of other pieces that we had to figure out how they came out. The piece that spins inside, this one that sprays the water up from the very base of the dishwasher. So we figured out how that came out of it. And then there was also this piece, and this clipped into port on the top of that main assembly we took out comes up the back of the dishwasher to the very top spinner that's on it. The one that's in the center is actually attached to that center basket that comes in and out, and it just seals up around that when you close the basket. So we had to figure out how all that came out. We got the filter assemblies out of it, and then we were able to get that main pump assembly out of it. So we've got it apart. We've put it on the workbench now, so we're going to go over there and start looking at the pump. I think we'll start with getting this cement counterweight off the bottom of it. This is where some of those pipes connected that ran the bottom sprayer bar connects on here, and the other pipe plugged in here that runs up the back and around to the top of the dishwasher. Well, there's not much more. So this has got to be the pump. There's got to be a propeller inside of that. Well, it's not jammed up. I can turn it by hand. But I could hear it humming before, so maybe there's some gears in it that are stripped. The propeller does not pull off of the shaft. There's screws in here to take this bottom plate off, but the hole's not big enough to come off over that propeller unless it comes off with it. I would say it's magnetic driven. It just seems to be like a steel weight or a magnetic weight on there. It's a magnet. There are no gear driven parts whatsoever in there. So chances are this is what's going to have to be replaced. So after all is said and done today, stores are closed today. It's actually a holiday today, so I can't find a motor today. So it's going to have to sit now until hopefully tomorrow I can find something. So that clamp, I don't know if I can get that on camera. We'll try it. So they have a tool that pinches that area of the clamp there that tightens them up. This one has 3 holes and 3 little divots here that clip into these holes. So I was able to get a screwdriver in there and wiggle it around to loosen this off a bit, and then I could squeeze it just enough on that rubber hose for those 3 divots there to pop out of those holes. So I was able to get that clamp undone, and I think I can reuse it, just squeezing it back in there again when I need to reassemble it. If they have, when I buy the motor, if they have new clamps like that at the store, I'll take that one with me for sizing, and I'll buy a new one just so that I have it in case this one doesn't work for me. There's no model numbers or serial numbers on the dishwasher, just this tag on the motor itself, so I'm going to have to work off of that. Hopefully there is a model on here and some other code number, so hopefully that's a part number or something and I can find one of these. Not sure if the new one will come with this housing on the bottom or not, but we'll take everything, when we find one, we'll take everything that we have here to the store, and whatever the new one doesn't come with, we'll just pop off of this one and bring back with us. But that has to be the problem. There's no gears, no other moving parts. It's just that magnetic counterweight or whatever that's in there. So it must generate a magnetic field in this coil, and it just makes that propeller spin. So we'll see what we can find for a replacement. We went online looking for one of these pumps, and we found one online. It was $172 before taxes online for this. But we also noticed when we were looking online that one of the descriptions they had in one of the websites was a circulating pump. So I came back and looked at this again, and I think I've gone a lot further than I had to. When we were trying to get at some of the nuts and bolts and screws to get this assembly out of the bottom of the dishwasher, this guy goes in over here, and I gave it a quarter turn, popped it out, set it on the workbench over there beside where I was working. Didn't notice that there was another propeller on this one also. Turns out this is the drain pump. This one is the circulating pump that pumps your water through your hoses to come out all your jets inside. So this is not my issue. If anything, it's going to be this smaller one here. So I'm going to do some reassembly, because I can put a lot of this back together without interfering with having to change this if this is what it turns out to be. So, and this one, I couldn't find the exact match for it online, but very similar ones to it were around $100. So it could be a lot cheaper fix than what I thought when I was getting into this one. Okay, so we reassembled everything that we could on there, except for that pump that we suspect is the problem. I don't have an explanation for it, but it pumped the water out. Okay, it's draining good, so I think what I'm going to do is go back in the house where that drain hose connects underneath the kitchen sinks. I'm going to see if I can fish a wire or something in there where that connects to and see if there's actually a clog in there. There's nothing I did to it that should have fixed it. I took things apart, put them back together, that was it. Since everything else seems to be working okay on the dishwasher, the, what do you call it, jet dry dispenser or whatever in the door, it stopped working some time ago now. So I might have a look at that if I can. See if it's just clogged up, maybe some old jet dry material or something. So we'll see. Whether or not we can get at it and do anything with it. It has a little actuator motor on it. Oh, there is a lot of, looks like a lot of buildup of crud inside the entire thing. It's like white crystallized material inside of it. I'll bring the camera around. So if we get up close, you can see this was just hanging over top of it, that plastic. So if I lift it up, there's a little actuator motor that must open a door when it's in the right cycle to give it some. But all that white crystallized material that's inside of there, I doubt that any of that is supposed to be there. So we've got some small screws holding it on. I think we'll take all them out. There's likely got to be a gasket on there somewheres maybe. So we'll try not to damage that. And we'll see if this is something we can get into, flush it out with hot water or something if we can't get into it. See if we can clean that up and get it working again. That's it for that. Yeah, there's some of that stuff is actually floating in the jet dry that's in there now. I don't know if we can get it apart to clean it out. We took that out and it's a sealed unit. You cannot get that thing apart any further than taking it out of the door. I took this little actuator motor out and that opens up a hole. So there's the hole inside that you would fill it with your jet dry. And this hole let everything circulate right through and it would drain back out. So I took it in the kitchen, boiled the kettle, and I poured boiling hot water through it. And now you can see where all that white was. It's all now just clear plastic. It's all gone. It would look like cottage cheese coming out of the thing. So I have no doubt that was likely plugging things up and stopping the jet dry material from flowing where it should have been. So we'll go ahead, I've only got one screw left to put back in that. And we'll get the stainless steel panel back on the front of it. As much as a pain in the butt this piece of paper is, I thought it must be there for a reason, so I put it back. We don't need my temporary electrical connections any longer. All that's left to do now is get it back in its hole, clean up the outside. I got fingerprints all over it now. Get everything hooked up, check for leaks, and see if it works in the house. Well, we put the dishwasher back together in the house, and we started to run it through a cycle while we were watching underneath with a flashlight. This is the drain pump out of it. There's an O-ring right around there. And I saw it starting to drip from around this housing. That's the O-ring. So we have quite a selection actually where I work, and I was able to match up the ID, the inside diameter, perfectly, but it was a little bit thicker, and the outside diameter, I just couldn't get it back in. I got about 3/4 of it in, and that last little bit I could not get it in. So phoned a couple of repair centers. Found one that sells just parts rather than buying a whole dishwasher. Unfortunately, they don't sell an O-ring. So I had to buy a whole pump just to get the O-ring. So it's an aftermarket pump, which doesn't mean a whole lot to me. This aftermarket one says made in Mexico. The original one says made in China. It's aftermarket to begin with. So a little bit difference of appearance. If I orient, that's orientated the same way. So where the electrical plug goes in, this is the back side of the plugs on this one's here, on this one it's here. It's in the same position other than that, so I don't need longer wires or anything, I just got to turn the plug. The way they clip in looks all the same. has more fins on the actual propeller on this one, so maybe it'll even drain faster than the old one did. Comes with the O-ring already on it. So we'll put, I'm just going to put some Vaseline on there or something to make it a little slipperier. Lock that into place, plug it in, and we'll do the same thing. We'll run it through some cycle, get underneath there with a flashlight and just watch it for any drips or the main seal that was in the bottom, because as you saw, I'd taken apart more than I needed to. So there's the big round seal where the whole bottom unit come out. It's a real heavy seal, so I didn't see it leaking the last time when I tried this. So I think it sealed itself again, but we'll watch that guy and make sure we're not going to have any more leaks with that. So the replacement pump's not bad. It was for the aftermarket one, was 50 bucks. If I didn't want to go with the aftermarket and I went with a brand name one, I think it was $93 for it. So that's where we're at. We'll put it in, we'll watch for leaks, and hopefully we're done. Well, there's no leaks that I can see. So we changed that pump in there and we've ran it through a complete cycle. We watched for any water leaks underneath, made sure everything was draining good. So there doesn't seem to be any issues. Everything stayed dry, everything drained well. So we put the toe kick plate back on, and that concludes this video. Thank you very much for watching.